All right, so I don't have a thumbnail for this, and I'm just thinking about it last minute, but you know what? I see there's still a lot of Jeep Liberties on the road, and this is a two-wheel drive version, so you don't see any center diff. But the crazy part is that they use a four-wheel drive hub, and the two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive hubs are pretty much the same, except for ABS or non-ABS, you know. So if you're doing this job, you have to take your brakes apart. This is just going to be a quick little video, so hopefully it's less than 6 minutes. It'll give you an insight on what you need and what the part looks like. And tackling, I say this is like a 6-star. You could do it, you know. If you're looking it up, that means you're mechanically inclined and you can do this. So it takes one of these e-sockets, which looks like that. So I honestly don't know what number this is, but in this little thing here, it was my second to last one. So it looks like reverse Torx, so that's what they call it. So that held on there. It's held on by 3 bolts. There's a top one here and 2 sides. And torque spec is something that you can look up. I'm not going to give you that. For me, I just make it as tight as I can, and then I give it a little bit more of a turn. And I clean the mating surface, and here I'll clean this surface when I put the rotor back on. So now the job is basically a brake job, you know, because we don't have to deal with an axle. So if this was a four-wheel drive version, there would be an axle here and there would be a nut there, so you'd take off like a 30 millimeter or 32 millimeter nut, and then you just leave the axle there, pull the bolts out. It would be a little more difficult with the axle, so you'd have to move the axle around to get at the bolts a little better, but it's pretty much the same principle. And for this, now we're going to put the rotor on, so I have to do some anti-seize here, put the rotor, clean the rotor on, and then it's going to be putting the bracket for the caliper, which is a 21 millimeter, and then 12 millimeter for the 2 bolts that hold the caliper on. So let me get this rotor prepped here, this prepped here, and that bolted on, and then I'll come back. Okay, so we got it back together. So I cleaned the rotor, a little anti-seize on the back. The rotor just stays loose until you put the wheel on. Now the bracket that holds the caliper has a 21 millimeter bolt in the top and bottom, and the caliper bolts are 12 millimeters. And you compress the piston in a little so that this way you have, see, I got the space there. So once I pump up the brakes, this will get tighter, and then this will stay tighter. And that's pretty much it. You would think that Jeep would have had something solid through here. Makes me crazy, because look, this is the new part, right? Let's go to the old part. Here's the old part. Old part is the same design. So same design. So at first I thought it was incorrect, but looking at the parts, they're correct parts. So all right, so that's pretty much it. Jeep Liberty front hub bearing. Quick little video on it. Hopefully it helps you out if you're interested in replacing it. All right, good luck. All right, I was thinking about doing a video on a water pump replacement, but you know, I already did the job and I thought about it too late. But if you're thinking about doing your water pump and replacing it, I'm just going to go over how to do it. Okay, so here's your tensioner. It's going to be a 15 millimeter wrench to get your belt off. Here's a picture of your belt routing. So that's how you put your belt back on. Now this one got a new belt tensioner, so the bolt is in the middle there. It's a 13 millimeter. 13 millimeter to take this whole assembly off, which gives you a new pulley here and a new pulley there. Now the belt's off, this is out of the way. Now you have access to your water pump. Now your water pump has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts. 8 bolts hold on the water pump. So with the new water pump, I had it placed on the table here, and every time I took a bolt out, I put the new bolt into the old bolt into the spot of the water pump, because some of them are short and some of them are long, and if you don't want to memorize where they go, it's sometimes easier just to put the bolts into the new part, and then once you get the old part out, you switch the bolts into the old part. So 8 bolts came out. You clean the surface. This one had an O-ring, so with the O-ring surface, I used a little bit of adhesive behind it to give it a little extra sealing. And then you put the water pump on. Now, the only disadvantage with these water pumps is there's no locating pin. So what I have to do is I put 2 bolts in at a time, and then I put all the bolts in, and then I slowly tighten all the bolts up in a circular pattern from like one side to the other, crisscrossing. And then once the water pump feels good, where it's, you know, sitting where I think it should have sat, then I tightened up everything. And these bolts, you just tighten them up snug and then a little, and then you do reverse order. You put your tensioner back in, since this one got a new tensioner, and then you put your bolt on. And now I have the water sitting like this, so with it being jacked up, I'm hoping that it's helping getting the air or the fluid to the highest point and getting the air out. Alright, so this one's just going to be a quick little 3-minute video. Probably never get any views, but if you have any questions, shoot me an email. Thanks. Alright, so we got it back running. Water level is up, it's heating up, and it's nice and quiet now. Before these 2 pulleys, we had a lot of grinding in them, so you heard some noises. I think his AC compressor, even though it looks new, this seems like might be a little bit on the fritz. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch modes and go to AC mode and see how that AC compressor works. So, heat's blaring, which is good, so let's go to cold now. Cold. Alright, so AC is kicked on. Let's see what happens. Okay. Seems okay. Fan's not on yet, but that's alright. Well, AC's not loud, which is good. Okay, maybe it was just a little dirty or something. Oh, fan is on. That's what I was talking. Alright, so those things are working. So, let's see if it's getting cold in here. Oh yeah, cold. Alright, good. Turn the AC off, and let's go back to heat. And now we'll just cycle the, let it cool for a little bit, see if it burps itself out of any air, and top it off a couple more times, because normally you would break this loose to breathe air out of the system, but this is frozen and I'm not playing with this, because imagine if this got broken, who knows what I'd have to do to replace it. So, and it's not something I want to do. Alright, so that's about it. 8 bolts for the water pump. Everything stays on. The only thing I had to take off was the tensioner, because it was being replaced. So you should take the tensioner off anyway, because that bottom pulley obstructs one of the bolts. And this 3.7 still runs. It being a 2004 or 2002. 2005. So 20-year-old truck still running pretty good. Alright, I'm going to turn it off and let it sit for a little while. Alright, thanks for checking out the video.